Second day of Mid-America. Is anyone as excited as I am to be at Mid-America this year? Come on, come on. That's right. That's right. I got the luxury of being up here yesterday, and I see some people that are back, so thank you so much for coming back. And our goal is always to be a benefit to you, so just appreciate that. And I think you're going to hear some really, really cool information today. But I love this show. All right, I absolutely love this show. I've been around truck drivers since I was about 12 years old. My dad owned a small steel processing company, and we were just his free help on the weekends and stuff to load trucks. And I got to, in my life, got to know a lot of really cool truck drivers that I know now were owner-operators. And there was one great guy named Robert Warren. He was from Pontotoc, Mississippi, had the coolest hair and everything. I just idolized him. I got to ride in the truck with him and feel what it was like. So I've had the pleasure of being around wonderful professional truck drivers for a long, long time. And so now that I get to work in this industry, and I've been in it since 1998, it's just a pleasure to me. I never get tired of it. I wake up every day excited about working inside of the trucking industry, and I'm excited that as somebody who's been in this marketplace, that I've had the joy of working for two great organizations in the marketplace. But all right, first I got a first quick question, okay? I'm from Alabama. My name's Brent. I'm Brent Hutto. I'm the Chief Relationship Officer. I'm also the Chief Fun Officer at Truckstop. So Relationship Officer, kind of a fun title. But all right, I got a question. I'm from Alabama. So the most famous song about Alabama is Sweet Home Alabama. Okay, here's your test. Here's your test. You ready? What's the first line to Sweet Home Alabama? Right there. He knows it. Most people don't know that. There's this little thing that they say says, turn it up, like that. So we're going to turn it up today and talk about some fun things. If you were here yesterday, you'll hear a little bit of repeat from some of the things from me about what I say about the marketplace yesterday, but you'll hear something brand new from our partners at American Truck Business Services. And I want to invite Todd up to stage. He's the president of American Truck Business Services to join me up. And Todd and I have been friends since 1999. And I don't mean just like our businesses have known each other and stuff, but we've been friends since 1999. And Todd and his two brothers grew up in this industry and then started American Truck Business Service, I think before 99. You guys, when did y'all start?
98.
98, okay.
You met me when I was a baby, man.
That's right. And I say we've been friends for a long time because when I got into this marketplace, I worked for Overdrive magazine. I worked there for 15 years. And this is by the way, this is the very, very first issue of Overdrive, 1961. But you'll notice on the right, and if you were here in the session maybe before this one, they had partners in business. I got to be part of the team to bring partners in business to the marketplace. And we were doing okay the first year, but when we got really good was when Overdrive partnered with American Truck Business Services to produce the content, because they were the experts on how to structure your business for success. And I got the luxury and the honor of being able to bring that product and that initiative to the market for the 15 years that I was there. And I got to learn so much about what was important to you in running your business. And this is what helped me kind of fall in love with this part of the marketplace, but really you guys as individuals and professionals. And so I love that I know that I have some idea, not like you guys do, but some idea of what it means to run a trucking operation. And it's been always my heart, and I know it's Todd's heart too, that we want you to be as successful as possible in running it the way you want to run it. And there are good, tried and true practices that help you enjoy it more. And so we always want to do those things. So that's why we're up on stage. That's why Todd has been was partnered with Overdrive magazine and now partnered with Truckstop as well, the company I work for now. And I've been there 10 years. Today is the end of my 10th year. So I've been there a decade, so I'm just getting started, if that's fair. But the idea about bringing solid business practices to it. And so, it's not rocket science. It's just if you know what's going on, it helps you adjust. If you know what's coming at you, you're able to maximize or minimize its impact on you. All right, so that's super important. We've got at our booth in 16160, we're doing free T-shirts and stuff. But I love this T-shirt design they did. I said, look, I'm going to show it in the talk that we give because I love it. Live free and drive. That's what we want. That's what Todd wants. That's what I want. We want you guys to live free and drive because we know how much you love driving your truck because of the freedom that you enjoy in it. So really, live free and drive. So super important to us. I love the tagline. I think we're going to try to trademark it. But what is important in this marketplace is transparency of information. If anybody came to the FMCSA talk earlier, it was a lot about transparency of information. Because transparency of information develops trust among the parties that are transferring the information back and forth. And trust is the thing that moves you forward. This is a mission statement for Truckstop, that you have all of the information. When we started in July 25th, 1995, by 6'3", goofy, red-headed technologist named Scott Mosgrove in New Plymouth, Idaho, population 1,400, agriculture-based. There wasn't anything more than a 2-story building in the entire county. His whole thing was, there's got to be a better way for truck drivers to get the information they need. And that's what caused him to create the product called Truckstop.com that you enjoy today. So we believe in it wholeheartedly, and because we know what it does to empower your business and empower the relationship, you need to at least be able to work with the people that are providing freight to you, the brokerage part of the marketplace. So you guys sit firmly in the middle of, and jump in here, Todd, if you want to, any of these. You guys sit, I want to talk about where you are in the marketplace. All right, so there's about 750 million, it's an arguable amount, somewhere in that neighborhood, of full truckload freight that moves in the United States, the contiguous 48. About 750 million full truckload movements. The spot market, where Truckstop sits, is right in the middle of the full truckload part of the marketplace. Let's see, I've got my pointer up here somewhere. Here we are. Whoops. All right, so spot market, where you sit right in the middle of the dominant part of the marketplace. I know you present a lot at the TCA, Todd, and talking about the power of what's going on in the truckload marketplace, but you sit right here. So the spot market is right in the middle of it. 97% of the freight that is on Truckstop.com in the spot market is full truckload freight. So you sit right in the middle of the dominant part of the market. It's not going to go anywhere. The marketplace, the amount of freight continues to grow more and more every year. So I'll show you a couple slides on that kind of maybe gives you some idea of the marketplace that you're in, and maybe how you can navigate your business, or maybe at least some hope to know that your business has the opportunity to continue to grow.
Hey, Brent, I'll just throw out one thing, because people talk about stuff like a week or two ago you heard about Knight and Swift buying U.S. Express, and everybody thinks, gosh, transportation is consolidating and it's going to be controlled by a bunch of big players. And when you see the slide that Brent just showed, sorry to blow your slide.
No, go for it. No, jump in there.
It's $1 trillion market, and those companies combined all together, biggest truck line, are going to have about $10 billion worth of revenue out of a $1 trillion market. And so, really I think what Brent alludes to is you guys in the spot market and you guys as individual business owners, you make up 95% of the market. Even though there's these monster big companies out there, most freight gets moved in spot market by people like you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's the dominance of it. The average truck size in the spot market, I think, is less than 2 trucks. So if you own 1 truck, you're right in the middle of where you need to be. And really, the technology has allowed you to have access to the information. That's why we believe in the transparency of information. So Todd alluded to this, and I brought this up just to show you that, hey, things change. Things change. You're in a supply and demand market. Things change. Who would have ever thought that one of the most important and even successful fleets in America would be acquired by the largest fleet? Well, move back a few years when Knight, a much smaller company, bought Swift, the largest player in the marketplace. Things change. Operating efficiency is the most important thing that you can look at. And we want you to live free and drive, absolutely, but knowing your operating efficiency and knowing how that contributes to the profitability of your company is the most important thing. And when you know that, you get to live freer more, you get to drive more, or drive less if you want to. And I know Todd's got some great data on when things are really good about how you guys actually get to enjoy another part of your life besides driving the truck. But I put this up here just to show you that things change. Things change. And it doesn't matter whether you're one of the largest or whether you're one of the smallest. You have the same impact on you no matter which part of the market that you're in. You have to run with great operational efficiency. This is a great slide. This is from January 2018. I've got a little clicker here. You can see the little red dot. I'm going to look at the screen, which I don't necessarily like to do, but I'm going to show it. So everyone thought this was the biggest market was ever going to be, like, in a generation. 2018, 2019. It was huge, and everybody made great rates. And boy, it was as they said in the movie Raising Arizona, the salad days. It was fantastic. And then we had this, what I would say, everyone said it was a down market, but I want to show you something. See this red line? That is a normal spot market. What you're looking at on this page right here is the load posting volumes on Truckstop.com. Every week over week since 2018. This is normal. Notice where most of the bars are? They're above normal. If there's more freight in the market and the same amount of trucks, the rates tend to be on the they tend to favor the carrier. My point about showing you this is that everyone thought 2019 was a difficult year. It was a normal year. Then we got to the quarantine when rates were $1.50 and there was no freight in the market because everybody was at home. And then you wonderful people said, it doesn't matter. I'm going to help protect my fellow citizen, and I'm going to haul freight, not just food and supplies, but also medical supplies to make sure people can be taken care of. Because no matter what, the trucker delivers. We came out of it, and since everyone was home, we crazy Americans, because we're really great consumers, started buying the mess out of everything. And we had that's pretty funny, isn't it? Everybody bought something. It's like, okay, I can't go on vacation. I don't have to go to work as much. I'm going to go, and I don't say maybe I'd like to fix up my house or do some things. We bought everything. Well, everything is a good that was purchased, and all goods hit a truck. So it was, you think these days were good right here in 2018. Look at the expansion of this market for 24 plus months. This is the biggest market ever since deregulation. And I don't mean like, you see the amplitude here, how far it is above the red line? It's incredibly higher above the red line here. So you guys had a great market. Here's what I want to encourage you with. And I know right now it's tough because fuel is more expensive and inflation hits all of us. It is still a normal marketplace. It has come back down to normal. These little lower parts right here, these are holidays, so you don't pay much attention to those. But just notice the red line. You still got it peaking above the red line. It's a normal market. And it's an expanding marketplace. Let me show you what that looks like. Excuse me, before I do that, what impacts this? And Todd, I'd love for you to jump in here on any of these. This slide is something that our chief economist, Noah Perry, one of the best economists, I say the best economist in all of transportation, has been tracking since 1976. He's 76 years old, so he's been tracking it a long time. This shows you the impact of regulations on the need for more or less truck drivers, depending on the regulation. Well, if you'll notice, everything above the line is we need more truck drivers. Anything below the line is we need less truck drivers. And it's only been one little period in 2015 where we needed less truck drivers, and everything is on the plus side. The issue is we don't have any more truck drivers today in 2023? And Todd, you guys started ATBS in 98?
25 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so in 98, there were 3.5, 3.6 million truck drivers in the market. That's the entire marketplace. Guess what? How many there are today? 3.5, 3.6 million. So there's opportunities. So I say this because regulations drive everything. We've had 4 capacity shortages since 2003, all driven by regulations. One by hours of service, one by ELDs. This last one, people would say, oh, no, you don't understand. That was a health issue, a virus issue. Nope. It was a regulation we put in place to modify how people behaved, and it changed the marketplace. So I say this because regulations, and this is what I said yesterday, and I'll say this again today. Watch regulations because you can anticipate how they're going to react, how they're going to impact a marketplace. And how it impacts the marketplace and either needing more or less drivers affects the rates in the marketplace, which affects your business. If you'll pay attention to regulations and then the load posting volumes, we put out this free information every Monday. You guys are welcome to it. It's called the Spot Market Insights on how the spot market performed the last 7 days. And you look at regulations, you can predict how this marketplace is going to go. And why do I know that? Because the government looks at it, Wall Street looks at it, all these different people look at the data. I know you've been trending it for a long time on being able to have indicators on which direction it's going to go. Because if you know what's coming at you, you can adjust to it. That's the most important thing in life, you know? I didn't know we were going to have twins in kids 4 and 5, but I found out before we had them, right? Because they told me you're having twins. We could adjust to it. You know, having 2 instead of 1 is a little bit more of a burden. So our last 2, my 2 beautiful sons, changed things, as we talked about. Things are going to change. All right, so what does the market look like? And I know I learned this from Todd many years ago when he talked about what's the normal in the market, because you were talking about this, and I said, I didn't realize that you were tracking that. He said, oh, yeah, I want to know is it normal or is it not normal? So normal through 2018, all the way for the past, 10 years, was about 30. Now, this is a pressure index. This is the market demand index that Truckstop's been putting out for almost 20 years. How much freight and how many available trucks are there? All right, so the normal pressure is about 30. But after the pandemic, it changed because there's more freight inside of the spot marketplace. It moved. The new normal is going to be like 55. And so you have to adjust off that. Now, you don't have to be an economist or an analyst to see this. Just know that if it's below 50, rates are going to be depressed. It's harder for you. If it's above 50, you're going to have more positive aspect on rates. Does anyone want to comment on that? I got a feeling you do.
Well, the only thing I'd say is, you know, you can complicate the world as much as you want, and people like to talk about housing starts and unemployment and inflation and all those things. And I'd say, if nothing else, look at this number every single week, because for me, I've watched it for 15 years, and it tells you what the market's doing. And if it's above, as Brent just said, 55-ish, it's a good market. Things are going to be okay for truckers. If it's 100, they're a killer for truckers. If it's below 50, the market's going to suck, and I'm going to have to do things to manage my business. To me, this is the single best indicator on the health of trucking and what I need to do to manage my business in trucking. It comes out every single week. So you can turn off the news, you can forget about inflation and all that stuff. This is, to me, probably the single most important number in trucking.
Oh, well, thanks for saying that. And remember, we send it out for free. If you're a customer of Truckstop, you get it for free. Or if you're not a customer of Truckstop, we'll send it to you for free. No problem. All right, so just see any person that has a red shirt on here, if you'd like to give us your information for it, or just go to Truckstop and ask for it, okay? It's actually on there. So super important. I'm just giving you information to empower you. Transparency of information, just giving it to you to empower you to run your business, because that's the most important thing. All right, so here's some hope. This is a chart put out by the Council of Supply Chain Management, the largest supply chain group in the world, Armstrong & Associates, the leading analyst group in the third-party logistics or the brokerage marketplace, and then J.B. Hunt, a big player in the marketplace. This is the amount of freight that's going to be moved by 3PLs. Is it predicted to go? Are brokerages that put the freight in the spot market, are they going to have more freight or less freight? Well, the indicator is it's going to be more. And why is that important to you? Because the more freight, the better opportunity there is for you to run your operation. The more choices you have, predominantly should be the better rates that you'll get to enjoy. My point is that you are in an expanding marketplace. I had to learn this the hard way. I started a t-shirt screen printing company when I was 21 years old. I didn't realize that I was in a marketplace that was super declining. Didn't make a penny. I learned a lot. That's what you say when you fail at something. I learned a lot at it, but I didn't do my homework. I just thought that would be cool, you know, and I got a little money together from some people, and I spent 4 years of my life learning things the hard way. You don't always have to learn the hard way, all right? So it's super important. You want to be in a marketplace that's expanding, because where there's expansion, there's opportunity for you and your business, all right? It doesn't always have to stay the same way you're doing it today, but there's opportunity to grow. I'll show you another slide on this. This is the amount of revenue that was in the spot market, the third-party logistics marketplace. And I'm going to show you two things on this. You'll notice the red arrow this is 2020, so that's when the pandemic started. There was about $231 billion of freight moved in the spot market. I say the brokerage, I can say the 3PL market, but it's really just the spot market. But brokers have a lot more than just spot market freight, so it's a top-line number. Here's my point. See the increase during the pandemic. It went up to $375 billion. But notice that we've come back down to a normal marketplace. Remember the slide I showed you, so normal market? The revenue went up by 30% that's being handled. That's the amount of freight receipts that are paid into that part of the marketplace. You are in an expanding market that's going to continue to expand because the transparency of information, because technology is making it easier for all the players to work together. So you have hope. I promise you, you have hope. I'll show you a couple more slides. We're going to jump into the most important part, which is Todd's point about, here's the other thing, and I talked about this yesterday. There are lots of people that do a whole lot more analysis than Todd ever does and I ever do, and those people that buy and sell businesses. If you've ever been through that part of something they do, it's difficult because they do tremendous amounts of research, and should they buy it, should they sell it? Acquisitions in somewhere, you follow the money, are a leading indicator on whether or not a marketplace is attractive. All right, so from 1999 to 2012, there were 54 acquisitions inside of the logistics marketplace. From 2013 to today, there were 115. There were over 100% increase. The people that have money don't want to lose their money, so they look for great investments. Where there's acquisitions, money is the opportunity to make more money is more than it is less, so they invest into it. So the last part of this is I want to show you what's going to happen inside of our industry, and how freight's going to move. And again, follow the money. Always follow the money, right? Because where there's investment, there's opportunity. This is investment in digital freight matching. That's kind of a big number. Investment in the automation of information inside of our marketplace. In 2011, it was $2 million. A couple years later, it's $23 million. That's a big increase. That's a 10x increase, over 10x. Last year, it was $1.4 billion. Investment into technology platforms that can automate information inside of our market. Truckstop's doing a lot of it. I know you guys are even automating some things at your business. Automation is going to affect all of us, not automation of trucks. You'll all be retired. I'll probably be dead by the time they get, who knows. I'm not concerned or talking about that. I'm talking about the automation of information, because if it can make things move faster, guess what you get more of? Time. The one commonality, two commonalities among all of us, we're all humans, and we all have the same exact amount of time in a 24-hour period. You can't make more of it, you don't get less of it. If you can make more time in your business, it means more opportunity for you to be able to do the things you want. So automation or digital or transformation of technology into something can be a great thing for you. You still control it. You get control. This is what one of Truckstop's mandates is, that whatever technology we develop, we want you to be able to control it 100% because it's your business. All right, so that's a high line on things to look for, things to watch as an operator. You guys are the best operators of trucks on the planet, in the universe. Know this information, too, to help you grow your businesses. And now I'm going to turn it over to something that Todd helped me with last year, and I said, you have got to talk to owner-operators about this on stage with me, because I was like, that's amazing. That's just amazing. And so I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to turn the controls over to Todd, and thank you for this. And I'm going to stand up here, too, because I'm going to ask him some questions as you. Oh, what is the power of understanding the economics? Every penny that you get more than the amount that was offered to you is $1,000 in your pocket, or annually. $1,000 annually in your pocket. So if you get 10 cents more per load, you put 10 grand in your pocket, that's a pretty nice purchase on something else, or a vacation, or maybe run less miles if you want to stay home more often. So everything you negotiate benefits you. All right, Mr. Amon, I'm going to turn the power over to you, and I'll be your Vanna White over here.
Give me the power,
so,
man.
Yes, sir, you're on it.
Give me the power.
All righty, so hey, this is great. I'm listening and learning on this too, and I studied all of his slides already again from last year, so I'm telling you, this is phenomenal.
So just to remind you, I'm Todd Amon from ATBS, as Brent said, and I just want to say thanks, truly, Brent, of a lot of people I've known in this business for 25 years. He does this because he gets paid to be in trucking for Truckstop, but he really does it because he's got a huge heart, and he loves drivers, and he loves watching them succeed, and that's why we're such good friends, because I'm the same way. I mean, business is business, and we all have to make a living, but really, Brent and I together, our goal is to just watch you guys thrive and gals thrive as much as you can. So I'm a really slow learner. It took me 4 years to learn this stuff. I'm going to try and teach you in the next 20 minutes. But you guys are going to be a lot quicker and smarter than me, so don't worry about it. Plus, it cost me, I went to Colorado State University, so it was kind of cheap. Cost me 50 grand. This is free, so just remember, you get what you pay for at the end. So I'm going to start because it's Friday afternoon at a truck show, and I saw the beer line was really long, so maybe a couple of you have had a beer. Plus, I can't see these lights. I can't see anything.
Makes it hard.
So I'm going to ask you guys to stand up real quick.
All right.
To wake up in case you're asleep or drunk, one or the other.
Up.
And I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to sit down when you say no to this question. How many of you would haul a load for $5 a mile? Everybody stay standing. That's good. How about $3.50 a mile? Last year, half of you would have sat down.
Yep, sure would have. They did.
How many of you would haul a load for $2.75 a mile? Sit down if you don't want a load for $2.75 a mile. We got a few of you. How about $2.25 a mile? Sit down if you don't want that damn load for $2.25 a mile.
Oh, look at there.
How about for $1.75 a mile?
Uh-oh. Oh, we got one standing.
Last man standing. Good for you. Okay.
That's what blew me away last year. I was like, get ready.
Yeah, you don't have to answer this, but my question would be, why and how do you know? And so that's what I'm going to try and teach you over the next 20 minutes is that decision depends every day, every week, every month, and throughout the year. Mm-hmm. And it didn't really depend a year ago because the market was so good that you could be picky and run where you want and take the load that you wanted for the rate that you wanted, but our world's turned upside down in the last year. And so we got to make decisions based on business and numbers rather than just emotion and I'm not hauling that cheap, crappy freight anymore. So I want to just talk through that with you and try and help you understand. And so Business 101, again, it took me 4 years to learn this. You're going to learn it in 20 minutes. If I run my own business, I got to generate revenue. You guys get that, and you're good at doing it, and Truckstop helps you do it every single day. I got to have expenses to generate my revenue, truck payments, things like that. And so my revenue minus my expenses equals my net income. That's business 101. That's pretty easy stuff. If I make money in America, despite what a lot of people say, I got to pay taxes. That's how things get paid for in our country, military, roads, whether you like it or not. And so that's business 101, right? I think that was probably the first of my 4 years. It took me to learn those things. You just learned it in 3 minutes. Revenue minus expenses equals net income. But you see a bunch of other stuff up there, and we're going to drill a little bit deeper into each of those because, again, last year, revenue, expenses, net income, taxes, that's all I needed to know. I could fly at 80,000 feet. Today, I got to fly at about 5,000 feet because some of the details matter. So I would have let you sleep through this last year, but this year it matters. You got to think about it. So we're going to talk about an accounting term that is a little bit hard to understand. It's cost accounting, contribution margin. Anybody ever heard of contribution margin?
Only because you said it last year.
Yeah, okay, so a few of you. I heard of it last year too, and I always forget. I always got to remind myself of this because it's not easy to think in these terms. So we're going to talk about contribution margin. We'll start with revenue, the first part of a profit and loss statement. And your revenue, we think of it as what we get paid to do our job, right? That's simple. But our revenue can be made up of so many different things. Do I get paid to stop in transit? Do I get paid to deadhead? Do I get paid a fuel surcharge? Do I get paid to do extra things on the load? If I get delayed at the delivering my freight, are they going to pay me? And so some truck lines and some individual owner operators think about all those things. At the end of the day, it's how much do I get paid to do the work that they want me to do. And we don't need to complicate things, revenue per mile, revenue per load, all that kind of stuff. The very bottom, I think it's really important that today you think about three things. You don't have to think about all the stuff on the top, but what's my revenue per mile, what's my revenue per day, and what's my revenue per load. If you kind of get your mentality every time you think about freight every day, think in those three terms, it'll help you think more about managing your business. So we'll move into the cost side of your business, and we're going to talk about variable costs. And the thing I love about variable costs is variable is easy to understand. It goes up and down, right? And so it varies based on what I'm doing. I think about variable costs as what does it take to make my truck go down the road? If I'm sitting here at this truck show, I'm not spending fuel unless I'm idling my truck. And if your truck's idling and you're sitting in here, shame on you because you're wasting a lot of money unless you got a dog out there and you love them and you don't want them to die. But it's cool. You don't need to. There's people that are idling their truck out there right now for no reason. When fuel costs $4 a gallon, that's not a very good decision. So variable costs are fuel and maintenance. They're the big ones. Stuff I got to do to make my truck go down the road. Okay? Revenue, variable costs. If we subtract those, we get what's called contribution margin. Again, the words sound scary. It's cost accounting, and it's stuff that took me 4 years to learn. But at the end of the day, it's pretty easy to think about contribution. It's contributing to something. It's contributing margin to my bottom line. So revenue minus variable cost equals contribution margin. And again, I don't want to lose you. I'm going to make this simple in the end. In fact, I should have told you in the beginning, I'm going to tell you how to make $15,000 more today. Again, this is free advice, so you get what you pay for. But by the time we get done, I'm going to tell you how to make $15,000 more, and you don't even have to worry about all this.
Hey, hold on a second. So let me take a straw poll. Would anybody like to be doing the same thing and make $15,000 more dollars? Look, I got 5 kids. I'd like to make $15,000 more dollars. So that's a pretty good.
It's not a gimmick.
No, it's not. No,
and some of you are already doing some of it, but I'm going to just tease you. Keep in your mind the numbers +1 and -10. That's what I'm going to wind up with. And we're going to talk about +1 and -10, and that's going to equal $15,000. In the math world, that doesn't usually add up. +1 -10 equals 15,000, but at the end, that's what I'm going to tell you. So if none of this makes sense and you're like, Todd, that's too much accounting crap, I don't even care about all that, just listen to the last 2 slides for $15,000. So revenue minus variable cost equals contribution margin. Let's put that in some real numbers for you. And this is real numbers from the last year. These numbers were better last year. Revenue per mile, I think most of you sat down by now. How many of you would haul a load for $2 per mile? Just about nobody in the room would haul a load for $2 per mile. My variable costs to run my truck down the road, fuel, maintenance, and the things that vary, 85 cents a mile was the average for our clients last year. And so if I got $2 a mile, my variable costs are 85 cents to make my truck run down the road, I just made $1.15 per mile. It's pretty good. Most company drivers make 50 to 60 cents a mile if they're doing pretty well. So I'm making twice as much. But there's something missing in this equation at the moment that we're going to talk about, and that's fixed expenses. But I want you to remember this piece because there's certain times during the week, during the month, during the year where this is your bottom line. So you truly can run for $2 a mile or maybe even $1.75 a mile, and you can actually make money if you've covered your fixed costs. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Fixed costs, the other side of costs. Variable, make my truck go down the road. Fixed, I got to pay for no matter what I do. I'm sitting here again, and I'm not running my truck. I got to make my truck payment. I got to make my insurance payments. If I park my truck, for the first time in the history of my business for 25 years, I saw people last April, May, and June, people just like you, park their truck. They said, fuel's down, fuel's up, rates are down, I can't make money, I'm parking my truck. For most people that did that, unless the truck's paid off and they stopped their insurance, they were still accruing payments. If I finance my truck, I lease my truck, I got my insurance coverages, I still got to make those payments, so I start digging a hole because I'm not generating any revenue to offset that. So the only thing I can do to cover fixed costs is create contribution margin. Revenue minus variable costs equals contribution margin to offset those fixed costs I got to pay for no matter what. Again, I know some of your eyes are glazing over. This is going to get better. Don't worry. But some of you also are going to have a light bulb turned on like, wow, man, that's like, man, I just found religion. I get it. I understand business now. So revenue minus variable costs equals contribution margin. The only thing I can do to offset my fixed costs is take that contribution margin and put it against those fixed costs. So my business fixed costs are, I'll talk about it on the next slide, around a little over $100 a day. If I don't generate enough money in contribution margin to go against those fixed costs, I go in the hole. The good news is once I cover those fixed costs, I don't have to pay for them anymore. Once I make my truck lease payment, my insurance, I don't have to pay it again that day, that week, that month. And so all that contribution margin goes to profit. Stick with me. We're getting to the punchline here before too long. So my break even is exactly what it takes for me to generate enough contribution margin to pay my fixed costs. So we also got to worry about things beyond our business because we have families, we have a home, we got a mortgage, rent, car payments, groceries, all those kinds of things. The average person we do business with spends $100 a day in personal fixed costs. So we got to tie that into the equation because we're not in this just to make money in trucking. We got to live a life too, right? That's why we're doing it. So let me tie all that together for you. Top we've already talked about. $2 a mile, 85 cents a mile in fuel, maintenance, variable costs. I got $1.15 in contribution margin. My fixed cost for my business, $990 a week. Truck payment, insurance, maybe my cell phone bill, things like that. So I divide my fixed cost of $990 by my variable contribution margin, $1.15. It tells me I got to drive 860 miles a week just to break even. Once I've done that, I broke even, I've made my truck payment and my insurance and all that. That contribution margin all goes to my bottom line. That's the power of understanding contribution margin is once I've paid those fixed costs, I can double and triple my net income. And so, again, a year ago, this didn't matter because rates were crazy. I just had to go run some miles and get some great paying freight and make a bunch of money. I didn't have to care about any of this crap. Today, I got to understand my break even, and I got to hit it because if I don't, I'm just digging a hole. Complicate it just a little bit more and throw our personal side in there. The average owner-operator we do business with their personal is $1,690 a week. It's what my fixed cost for home and my business cost divided by $1.15 in contribution margin, so I got to run 1,469 miles a week to break even. Does that make sense, or is that crazy? Okay, let's keep going then. Kind of to tie all that out, I've already said it so many times, I'm not going to summarize the slide for you other than revenue minus variable cost equals contribution margin, $1.15-ish a mile. I got to use that to cover my fixed costs, home and work, okay? So I say all that to say the reason I'm in business and the reason that we work with 20,000 owner-operators is because y'all don't want to do that. It sucks to calculate those numbers every day, even if you got QuickBooks or Excel spreadsheets. It's a lot of work, and I'm not here to sell you on what we do, other than the fact we make it simple. We spend a half hour with every new client that we get, and we ask you a bunch of questions, and we create what we call a profit plan. Really, it's a budget, but a budget sounds like a root canal at the dentist. Nobody wants to live on a budget, right? God, I don't want to live on a budget. A profit plan actually sounds kind of exciting. I have a plan to go make profit. It's really the same thing, except if you treat it like a profit plan, then you're going to use it to go make money. And so you can just see the yellow things that are highlighted on here. We give you your contribution margin, and we give you your break even when you work with ATBS on a nice simple piece of paper by asking you about 25 questions. Because otherwise, you'll make yourself crazy trying to figure that out unless you spent 4 years slowly studying finance and accounting like I did. So let's just set all that aside and say, that sounds good, but I'm going to forget that as soon as I get back in the beer line and have 2 more beers at the truck show. Make it simpler for me, Todd. So these are just some simple fundamental truths about running your business. Focus on the highest gross revenue per day. Don't think about $5 a mile. Don't think about $2 a mile. Focus on the highest gross revenue per day. Not just this day, though. You got to look back a couple days, and you got to look forward a couple days, because I might get a load that's going to pay me $1,200 a day today, but it might put me in a place where I'm only going to make $400 tomorrow. So I got to put those two together, $1,600 divided by 2 days, and make it $800, because otherwise I focus on each day and I can get screwed up. So you got to kind of look forward and look back a little bit. Again, this top line didn't matter last year, but it matters today. Mm-hmm. It was all about revenue a year ago. And today it's about cost, because the revenue, as Brent showed, we're still doing it okay in an okay market. We're not in a premium market. Mm-mm. And so the revenue is what it is. And it ain't going to get better. I got bad news. It's not going to get better for a while. It's going to be what it is. So you got to figure out how to make money. For me to go generate another dollar revenue, I got to spend variable costs, fuel, maintenance, run my truck down the road. For me to save $1 of costs straight to my bottom line for profit. And so we went from a market over the last 3 years where it was just about revenue to a market where I got to actually pay attention to costs, because I got to save some money if I'm going to keep making the same amount that I did before. I've been talking a lot. You got anything to say, Brent?
I'm soaking it in.
Okay.
I'm soaking it in.
All right. Yep. Sounds good. This last line on here is important.
Thank you for shutting the doors in the back.
We have seen, in the last year, we've seen so many owner-operators fail because they keep that mentality of, hey, Mr. Broker, you're going to pay me $3.50 a mile a year ago, and now you're going to pay me $2.25. Screw you, man. You're hurting my business. It's cheap freight. And it doesn't matter. It's a commodity market, and the market sets the rate. So if you can't figure out how to operate and make money in that market, and you just sit your truck, you wind up going out of business, which breaks my heart and breaks Brent's heart. That's why we're up here, is to try and help you change your mindset.
I do have one point. The number one thing that puts every one of you out of business is a major mechanical failure. Second is a health issue, but number one is a major mechanical failure, because it not only creates a tremendous expense to repair it, your ability to generate revenue goes to zero, because the thing that you use cannot be used. So super important about understanding the things that can impede your business. So I know a lot of people don't necessarily don't pay a lot of attention to that, because it's like, yeah, I know I got maintenance on the truck, but if you have a major mechanical failure, it's what bankrupts or causes the independent owner-operator business to fail. So
yeah, save money for maintenance.
Sir?
You got to have an escrow. Save money for maintenance.
Save money for maintenance, yeah.
In today's world, for sure. So I get to talk to a ton of people, owner-operators, big fleets, and in times like now, I just try to soak in what's going on, and I ask them. Mm-hmm. And it's funny. It's interesting, because our average owner-operator customer in 2018 ran 108,000 miles a year out of 20,000 drivers. Last year, they ran 85,000 miles. Miles are down 20% in 4 years. Mm. That's a big number. If I think about that in my world, just say an average white-collar worker works 40 hours a week, and that's like a day less. That's like they're working now Monday through Thursday instead of Monday through Friday. And so I think about that and why that's happening. And as I talk to a lot of the big truck lines that people lease to and they have company drivers, I'm like, you seeing that at your fleet? And they're like, yeah. And I don't understand why. Things are tough, and drivers need to make more money. Why aren't they running more miles? And so as I put it together, you guys are no different than all of us. COVID was good to us money-wise. Industry went crazy. We started making more money, and we got a better quality, life-work balance. Right. And so a driver's no different than the people that work for me in my office. It's hard for me to get people to come back to the office. It's hard for me to get people to work on Saturdays to do tax returns right now, because we've got a lot of work to do, because everybody rebalanced what they did. Life is more important than work. It used to be all about work when my dad grew up and when I was young. And so you guys are the same. You want better work-life balance. You want to run less, and we're all figuring out how to do that. So I say that to say that I think most of the world think of truck drivers differently than the white-collar worker, but at the end of the day, we're all the same. We want the same thing. We want work-life balance. And so treat your work just like I treat my work. I work Monday through Friday. I work some Saturdays this time of year because we're busy. But think about your week like a work week, not just I'm going to go run load tomorrow, and I'm going to just live for the day every day. So my day starts, Monday morning. And if I do the right things, I should hit my break even by Wednesday. If my break even is 1,600 miles because I've done the numbers, I've broken even. So my contribution has paid all my fixed costs. I don't have to make a truck payment and insurance payments on Thursday and Friday, and if I work Saturday, and maybe even if I work Sunday, that's all profit. That whole $1.15 goes to my bottom line. So I'm just, again, saying a few things to try and get you to think about your mindset a little bit different, because a lot of drivers just look at the load, how long is it going to take, and they don't think about it like a normal work week. So start your week on Monday. If I've run enough miles, I've hit my break even by Wednesday, I double my profit because now my contribution margin goes to my bottom line, not paying my fixed costs. I want you to think a little bit about a layover, because a lot of drivers in a market like this, and especially this time last year, were making the decision that freight sucks. I'm not going to haul it. It's too cheap. What's going on those damn load boards? Those greedy brokers are taking all the money. I'm just going to sit. But when I got fixed costs for my business and my personal, $140 for my truck, $240 when I include my home, every day I don't run, those fixed costs build up. And so tomorrow, I got to generate more contribution margin to pay those fixed costs. So sometimes it doesn't make sense to sit for a few days because the freight sucks. Sometimes, that's what I said, it depends where you're at on the week, it depends where you're at on the market. Truckstop has amazing analytics where you can see what rates are doing around the country in different areas. And in today's world, I'm not saying you have to be a genius in that, but you should understand it because it helps you understand where to be. And I may have to take a load for $1.70 a mile to get to a place that'll pay me $2.75 a mile. Stuff we got to think about today. A year ago, we didn't. It was an easy market. Take loads, run freight, make money. But today, we got to think about it. Let me just see how we're doing on time, because I can talk for dang ever because I love this stuff so much. I'm going to just tell you a few things about taxes, because we do tax returns for a living, and there's some stuff that people just don't know, and sometimes their CPAs don't know it. So real high level. As an owner-operator, you choose to be one for a reason. You want freedom. You want to make decisions for yourself. But a big bonus is you get to deduct things that company drivers don't anymore. And so it can be real complicated, and CPAs and accountants can make it real complicated. For me, it's real simple. Anything that relates to running your business, if you think it does, then it's probably deductible. And at our company, that's what we tell you to do. Send it to us, and we'll figure it out. It's that simple, really. Some things, we all know truck, fuel maintenance. That stuff's deductible, but a guard dog, is that deductible? Is the IRS going to audit me if I take a guard dog deduction? We talk to the IRS, and we get things like that approved. Yeah, you can deduct that dog if we do the right things, and the expenses for that dog. Per diem is a really valuable expense for independent contractors. It's about a $20,000 a year deduction. The good news is during coronavirus, the Trump administration wanted people to go back to restaurants because they were empty. And so they increased the meal deduction for the businessman's lunch from 50% to 100%. We, literally, ATBS argued with the IRS and said, well, you're screwing truck drivers because their meal deduction is only 80%. And so they should be 100% too. And we got them to agree that we could deduct 100% of per diem for the time that the white-collar man could also deduct their business lunch. So that went on until this year, January of this year. It goes back to being an 80% deduction. I tell you that because there's a lot of CPAs out there that either miss the per diem deduction and they do 50%, or they don't know what it is, or they tell you to add up your McDonald's bills and all that stuff. It's a big deduction, and you want to get it right and make sure somebody knows what they're doing.
This one got me. This one, when I was reviewing it, this one got me. This
is a really good slide, and I could take a long time explaining it, but I'm going to do it at a high level. If you make more than $70,000 a year net income as an independent contractor, you should set up an LLC and do your S-Corp taxes, even though you're an LLC, and you should pay yourself a payroll. That was a lot to say, but the reason you should do that, if you did the math on this slide, is you can save somewhere between $4,000 to $7,000 in self-employment taxes, and it's going to cost you a bit more to do an S-Corp tax return and do payroll for yourself, but you got to pay 15% on every dollar you make for self-employment for the privilege of being self-employed in America. And so, again, without doing all the math, that's something you should ask your accountant about if you're not doing it. If you make over 70 grand a year consistently, you can pay yourself a reasonable wage, not a number defined by the IRS, just a reasonable wage. Again, because we deal with the IRS so much, we can figure out what that number is, and I can call it about $40,000 a year, so I can play a game with $40,000 versus $70,000 net income and save self-employment tax. So again, at a real high level, I'm just giving you some tips, because we're in a market where this matters. Every $1,000 matters to you.
So Todd, when you say 70,000, I want to make sure you clear this, make sure you have some clarity on this. Is that what I'm bringing home, $70,000? So that's my take-home pay.
It is. Revenue,
okay.
200,000, expenses, 130,000,
okay.
net income, 70,000.
Okay. It's not my top line receipts.
No,
it's what I'm basically kind of paying myself. And
it's net. After my expenses.
So a simple change by looking at the math, looking at the receipts, and making a simple change can net me $3,000 more bucks a year.
Maybe 5 or 6 or 7, yeah.
Oh, wow. Dude, that's what blew me away. When I was reading this, I went, you're kidding me. Something as simple as that takes you a little bit more time, but you put $3,000 minimum in your pocket.
Yeah.
That seems like a pretty simple thing to do, or a straightforward thing to do. It's not always simple.
Well, the thing is, it's not cheating, right? Like,
right. No, not
I
at all.
can tell you that you're paying less in self-employment taxes, so we're helping you screw the IRS, but it's a very legitimate thing done by many businesses. You got to do it the right way.
Right.
When you set up payroll, you got to do withholdings, and it complicates your business more, but any CPA, including ATBS, can help you figure that out and get it done. So
it's
look
good.
at it.
It's important to have the right accounting services to know your industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. So my last 3 slides, I told you I'm going to
all right.
tell you how to make $15,000 more. And this is not rocket science. I've been talking about this for 25 years. So plus 1 minus 10. Let me just tell you what plus 1 minus 10 means. Again, I could spend a lot of time on the math on this slide, but I'm going to give you the high-level view. Take 1 more load a month. That's it. Just commit to taking 1 more load a month. If you got used during COVID because you were making good money, you went from running 108,000 miles to running 85,000 miles. And again, you don't need to wait around for that $3 load. You can do this with a $2 load. The math's up here. It's a $2 load. I've covered my fixed costs because this is an extra load. This is contribution margin going to my bottom line. So if I take 1 extra load every month, 500 miles, so that means I'm working an extra day. I know that doesn't sound fun, but it's tough times. So we need to work harder in tough times. 1 extra load a month can get me an extra $6,000 a year. If I take 2 extra loads a month, work 2 extra days, it could be $13,000. Again, there's a lot of math that we talked about earlier, variable costs, fixed costs, contribution margin, but trust me, you'll feel it if you actually do it. I've already covered my truck payment, my insurance. Because I did that and I go home and sit, I'm wasting profit because it's all bottom line after I pay my fuel and my maintenance. Hopefully that makes sense. The last one, I've stood on this stage and I've argued with so many people that have yellow Peterbilts that run 110 miles an hour because driving slow is hard. And especially after you've been in a market like the last 3 years, it didn't matter because a year and a half ago, fuel was, $2.50 a mile, and rates were crazy. I didn't care how much money I spent on fuel. I just wanted to get to the next load as quick as I could. And so I kind of forgot about the cost side of the business. And I'm here to tell you, I've been doing this for so long, and I've been with so many drivers. If you slow down 10 miles an hour at today's fuel prices, you're going to save $8,000 to $10,000. It's a simple fact of life, and you can say bullshit, and you can say that's a lie, and my truck ain't going to do that because my truck's different. But I've done it with thousands of drivers, and I just, one of the best tips I heard, a guy that I work with, we call him a navigator, he doesn't have the self-discipline to drive 60 miles an hour. He just doesn't. I don't either. I mean, that's painful. So he says, what I did to make myself do it is I got behind a prime truck because those guys are disciplined. Those guys are disciplined. They're owner-operators, but they know what it means. They taught him at Prime how much more money that puts in their pocket. And he said, I can't do it myself, but I'll just follow that guy as long as I can because I know he's going to do it because he knows how much money it is. So if you don't have the discipline to do it yourself, follow someone who does because I'm telling you, it's going to save you money. As you know, there's a dozen other things from idling and checking your tire pressure and making sure your trailer's close to your cab, but those are the simple things. Plus 1, minus 10. Take an extra load a month, slow down 10 miles an hour. And our average owner-operator a year and a half ago made $74,000 a year. It's pretty good money. It It was up pretty significantly because of COVID. Our top 10% made $158,000. So it hurts me because last year my average owner-operator made $64,000, down $10,000. That hurts. That puts people out of business. It gets homes foreclosed on. And there's really no reason for it, because if you did what I just said, an extra load, one a month, slow down 10 miles an hour, you'll make as much or more than you did a year ago. But it's a different way of thinking. We're in a time that's difficult, so we got to think a different way. So,
hey, two things. Go back. Would you go back
Yeah.
2 slides? I want to point out something, and I want to ask you a question on the one you just finished on. Number one, you've got listed on the line RPM, $2 a mile. I'm not an accountant. I'm not an analyst. I'm not an economist. But I love math. I've been a math guy since I was a wee tyke, studying things when I was in first grade. I love math. I told my dad he was overpaying for the house because I didn't know what interest cost on his mortgage. So when I was in 4th grade. So I love math. The 5-year average rate on Truckstop for freight, and this is all the freight, so this includes dry van and refrigerated and reefer and flatbed and specialized. The all-in was $2.20. That's all the freight. So this is not unattainable. Right? So
Yeah.
I remember because I got to talk to the Department of Justice during the pandemic when the truckers were protesting in D.C. about the $1.50 a mile. I got to talk to the Department of Justice because they were asking me whether or not that price collusion could happen, and it can't because of the competitiveness of the marketplace. But the idea that you can get $2 a mile is not unheard of. But I heard of truckers all the time in 2020 say, if I can't get $2 a mile, I can't be profitable. So that number sticks with me. All right? So that's important. So the $2 is not like outlandish. It's not unachievable. That's my point on this. And so I just look at the math. So if we go to the next slide, I want you to point out one other thing. Is on the very bottom where you've got going from 6 to 7, going from 6 to 8 miles per gallon. The fuel surcharge index is based on a 6.5 mile per gallon average. If you're not getting that, you're going to get hammered by cost of fuel. All right? So, but that's the minimum. All right? That's the minimum. Our good friend Henry Albert averages 10. If you guys don't know Henry, he's a big fuel efficiency guy. He averages 10.1, hauling a full load, and he says he drives faster than that. But I'm just going to say the point being, slowing down is an easy way to change nothing on your truck. Henry has changed everything on his truck to minimize the wind resistance. Now you don't have to do that, but my point is these things matter.
They do.
Because in the end, sometimes something you might put on your truck that looks great is just, you might as well just write several checks for it and keep writing them every single month. And look, I love beautiful trucks too. I worked for Overdrive. The Pride and Polish was something I look forward to every single time because they're just beautiful. But in the end, you don't make money, that beauty doesn't get to stick around. So just continue on your last slide. But I wanted to point those two things out because I know you talk about that all the time. Of just going from 6 to 7, which is just 0.5 over the average. And this is against the fuel surcharge, okay? Super important because negotiating the fuel surcharge in every one of your transactional spot markets, loads that you haul, is very important. If you don't know what's going on in the marketplace, like right now it's 53 cents. If you didn't know that, you could get hurt when you're negotiating your spot market freight that you're moving. Super important for you to know, because if you know the information, you're prepared. You can negotiate well. So sorry about that. So I just wanted
No,
to...
man, I'm done, and I'll wrap up with what you said.
Let's ask for some questions.
Yeah, below $3 a gallon, drivers don't care about fuel. Do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Above $3 a gallon, it matters. And what Brent just said, people that get 8, 9 miles per gallon, they profit. The higher fuel goes, the happier they are. Fuel could go to $10 a gallon because it adds revenue, and you arbitrage that fuel surcharge and you make money on it. So, yeah, we hit you with a ton of information on Friday afternoon at the truck show. Sorry for that, but hopefully it helps you understand a few things. It's a different world. It ain't just all about the revenue. It's about managing a business, and if you're going to make it through this, and this won't be the last time we have a crappy market. Truck markets are usually crappy for 12 to 18 months. We've already been through 12, so my best guess is no matter what everything else does, within another 6 months, things are going to pick up and get better. They're usually slowly good for 24 to 36 months, and then they're down. So this will happen again in another 3 years. So get good at your business now so you can take better advantage of the upside next time.
Yeah, so if you remember that orange slide, that one that had the orange and green on it that showed the load volumes, posting volumes. We've been at this market where we are right now for 6 months. March today is 6 months. We've been in this. So it's going to bump along normal for a while, and then it should start to move back up because it always changes because the economy changes or the economics change in the cycle. So thank you, Todd, for telling. This is the whole point. Todd said we hit you with a lot of information, but you didn't come in here to waste your time. I'm not standing up here, and Todd's not standing up here because we want to waste your time. We want you to benefit from this, and you didn't come in here to waste your time. So I just challenge each and every one of you. You're not the world's greatest truck drivers for no reason. You know how to apply things. You know how to no matter what, you know how to thrive in markets no matter whether they're super up or they're a little bit more challenged as they are today. So we'd like to take some questions. We've got about 5 minutes for questions. Any question works, and there's some of them we may not have an answer to. We got some mics on the side from Maria and Jen, and so we'd like for you just so everyone can hear your question. Who's got a question? Come on, Scott. You got a question? All right, right. What's your name? And what's your question? Oh, hold on. I can't hear you, Sydney. We got it? Uh-oh, here comes Miss Carolyn. She's going to bring you. There we go. All right, Sydney, what you got?
All right, my name is Sydney. I got a question as it pertains to the rate per mile.
Yep.
I know a lot of emphasis has been put on the number being, a certain amount. But how much of a factor should we consider as far as weight? Because I've been getting paid less than probably a national average, or say, to take an empty trailer.
Mm.
It's not a loadout. They just want it from one place to another on the power only.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm averaging 10.5, sometimes even 11 miles per gallon on that.
Wow.
But I would think if you look at it just focusing on the rate, you'll miss how that can turn into, a profitable load for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
so you're moving empty trailers from one, you're repositioning trailers for someone, and you're getting a phenomenal fuel mileage and a decent rate, I'm guessing, to reposition the trailer. So I'll let Todd answer that one from a standpoint of efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, weight matters, right? If I'm hauling a full 40,000-pound trailer versus air, Henry Albert could tell you better, but my guess is that can have at least a half mile per gallon on flat roads if I'm running hills and that kind of stuff. So you can make the business as complicated as you want, and in a time like now, you got to think about things like that. So I can't say you need to charge an extra 10 cents a mile if you're hauling 20,000 pounds versus 40,000 pounds versus zero, but you can pay attention to your fuel economy because pretty much every truck tells you that almost instantly, and you can learn if you screw up and you haul a 40,000-pound load and you get 7 miles per gallon instead of 10 miles per gallon. You can do the math pretty easy and figure out what that costs you. You're right, weight's important.
Yep, fantastic. So you're even saying, look at both parts, not just what the rate is, but your efficiency. Because if you're getting 10 miles, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so wisdom from the front. Sydney should have been up here teaching the stuff too. So
next year.
Sydney, next year you're up here.
He's better looking
and
than
he's
you
got
and
another
me.
question. Come on, we got to have a question. You got Todd Amon up here, and you got your favorite guy from Alabama up here. What's your anybody got a question about anything?
What are the last words to Sweet Home Alabama?
Oh my gosh.
I'm just joking.
I should know that. That's a great.
Turn it up. I like to turn it up. Turn it down.
One quick thing. We always want to make sure we're a benefit to you guys. We are, for anyone signing up today at Truckstop, we're giving them 1 month for free. And that's which product is that? Okay, Loadboard Pro, which is our all-in product. You get our Cadillac product for 1 month for free if you want to sign up for Truckstop. Now, you got to be an independent owner-operator. There's certain things you got to have. You got to have your authority. But the point is that we want to make it a benefit to you. So we're willing to absolutely partner with you in that. So we're at booth 16160 in the East Hall. And red shirt. You have a red shirt.
I don't know how do you get a free T-shirt.
Oh, and you get a free T-shirt. Yeah, the Live Free and Die, Live Free and Drive. You got to get a T-shirt. Absolutely.
You just come
I've
get
got
a demo, you
I've
get
got
a
mine on
T-shirt.
underneath this. All right. Any other questions? Happy to answer any other questions. Nope. Well, it has been an honor and a pleasure to stand in front of you today and be a part of this. We are always here to help. All right. We're here at truck shows. We're 24/7. I know Todd's 24/7. What he does. Thank you so much for being here. You guys enjoy the rest of the show.
See y'all. Thank you for being here.